Sophia entered the cafe, spotting Ethan waiting at a table.
Sweetheart, you're finally here.
He kissed Sophia on the cheek. She felt a strange resistance but didn't pull away. She took a sip of her coffee and added more sugar cubes, finding it too bitter.
Yeah, Liam went out of town for a couple of days. I don't have much time. You said on the phone that you had a way to make him agree to us being together. What is it?
Liam was her foster brother, strict and overprotective, forbidding her from dating.
Take a look at this.
Ethan pushed a document towards her. Sophia frowned, picking it up. The second page displayed the words medical certificate. As she read further, she saw, diagnosed, patient is 6 weeks pregnant. The patient's name was unmistakably hers, Sophia.
What do you mean by this?
She had a rough idea of what this plan entailed.
Silly, it's to make you pretend to be expecting. Liam wouldn't be able to do anything to you then, right?
Liam's image flashed in Sophia's mind. She knew his temper. If she really did this, Liam might not let her keep the baby.
No way.
Don't be so resistant. At most, Liam will ask you to, not go through with it. In the end, it won't really hurt you.
Ethan, it's impossible. You don't understand Liam.
For some reason, this statement seemed to upset Ethan.
You're right, I don't understand him as well as you do. Who understands him better than you? If you want to try, try. If not, then forget it, okay?
That's not what I meant.
Under Ethan's gaze, Sophia finally nodded.
All right, I'll try.
Ethan had prepared everything for Sophia, including medical certificates from 2 hospitals. With the fake certificates in her bag, Sophia felt restless. Liam was attending a party tonight and wouldn't be back early. Stubbornly, Sophia sat on the sofa waiting for him. Aunt May tried to persuade her to go to bed several times, but she refused. Screech. The familiar sound of the engine and brakes made Sophia close her eyes briefly before standing up to greet Liam at the door.
Why aren't you asleep yet?
Liam walked in, reeking of alcohol and unsteady on his feet. Sophia reached out to support him as they walked to the living room.
I couldn't sleep.
Liam didn't say anything more, allowing Sophia to help him to the sofa. She then poured him a cup of cold tea. Liam held the porcelain cup in his hand, sniffing the tea's aroma without drinking it. Memories stretched back to many years ago when Sophia had just moved into the villa. She used to wait for Liam to come home before going to bed, even though their interactions were minimal back then. This habit faded only when Liam had to stay out late frequently for work.
Does your ankle still hurt?
Putting down the untouched tea, Liam gestured for Sophia to sit beside him. Sophia hesitated and sat down at a distance of almost 2 meters from Liam, shaking her head lightly. As expected, seeing the chasm between them, Liam frowned slightly but said nothing. He simply moved closer, sitting beside Sophia.
I have something to tell you.
Go ahead.
Tell me.
They were so close that Sophia could clearly smell the alcohol and tobacco on him. She turned her head slightly, avoiding eye contact, and took out a medical report from her bag.
Michael. I'm pregnant.
The air was silent for a moment, only Sophia's rapid breathing could be heard. Her fingers twisted the hem of her clothes, trying to calm herself.
What did you say?
I'm pregnant,
Michael's hand reached out and gripped Sophia's neck.
Say it again.
I am pregnant.
Her throat hurt, and Sophia coughed desperately. Her face turned red, and tears streamed down her cheeks, dripping onto Michael's fingers. Her vision blurred, and she struggled, accidentally knocking over a porcelain cup on the coffee table. With a loud crash, the pressure on her neck disappeared, and the glass coffee table cracked as Michael punched it.
Cough, cough, cough.
Sophia collapsed on the sofa, gasping for air, but her hurried breaths only made her cough more.
Get rid of the baby. I'll make the arrangements.
No. Michael, this is my first child.
You shouldn't have gotten pregnant.
But I am. This child is innocent. I can't get rid of it.
Sophia had anticipated this outcome, but she still cried as if on cue. Her sobs were filled with sorrow and the indignation of being choked. Michael tried to pull his hand away but couldn't. He stood there, his body stiff, Sophia's cries making him both irritated and sympathetic.
You know you haven't graduated from college yet. This child will hold you back.
I never expected you to say that.
Michael sat down again, pulling the insecure Sophia into his arms, gently stroking her hair.
Be sensible. Get rid of the baby.
Using the gentlest tone to say the cruelest words, that was Michael.
I can't bear to. Michael, I can't bear to.
Sophia felt Michael's hand stop stroking her hair. She held her breath, waiting for his reaction.
How many people know about your pregnancy?
Only Ethan knows.
Michael nodded, pulling Sophia out of his embrace. She sat on the sofa, so nervous she didn't know where to put her hands and feet.
It's late. Go to sleep. We'll talk about this tomorrow.
But
Michael turned back, his cold eyes silencing her. Sophia had never lied before, and today she had told such a big lie. She lay in bed, unable to sleep, replaying Michael's words and his gaze in her mind. She wondered if Michael was asleep. Unable to sleep, Sophia went downstairs to get a glass of water. On her way back up, she noticed the study door was ajar, the light still on. He was probably working. With that thought, Sophia took the unused ointment for swelling and pain from the cabinet and poured a cup of coffee. After mentally preparing herself, she knocked on the study door.
Do you need something?
your hand, you should apply some ointment.
Aren't you going to apply the ointment? Go ahead.
Sophia held the ointment in her hand, unsure whether to put it down or not. Her expression was complex because she never expected such a request from Michael. Given his usual demeanor, telling her to leave would have been more in character.
No, I mean you should apply it, never mind.
Unable to argue, Sophia took out the ointment and carefully applied it to Michael's hand, gently spreading it with her fingers. Despite the swelling, she could still feel the bones in his hand. She applied it meticulously, only looking up when she had finished. Then, she saw a pair of deep, unreadable eyes. Their gazes met, and Sophia blinked, thinking she saw a hint of a smile in those eyes.
You should go to bed early. I'll head back now.
This child, do you really want to keep it?
Michael's sudden concession caught Sophia off guard, and she stopped wiping her hands. She remained silent, unable to gauge Michael's intentions. Michael nodded, his gaze sweeping over Sophia's flat abdomen.
Then keep it. It's not a problem for the family to raise a child.
Raising a child in the family was certainly not a problem, but why did he say the family? Michael was not someone who compromised easily, and Sophia knew this better than anyone. What she hadn't hoped for suddenly made progress, and while she felt relieved, she also became more cautious.
What do you mean?
Michael picked up the coffee Sophia had placed on the table and took a sip elegantly.
You can keep the child, but Ethan can't stay. Do you understand?
The words were clear enough. Sophia had to choose between the child and Ethan. No, there was no choice at all because Michael would never give her the chance to choose Ethan. Sophia knew how stubborn Michael could be. He had said they should break up, and he would use countless ways to force them apart. Today's incident was just one of his methods. Sophia felt a sense of relief that the child didn't exist. Perhaps worried that his words had scared Sophia, Michael reached out to touch her belly, but she stepped back, avoiding his hand. Michael's hand hung awkwardly in the air before he calmly withdrew it.
Sophia, Ethan is not as simple as you think.
Even if he's not, he's still the father of my child. I know you don't like him, but my child can't be born without a father.
To her, Michael was deliberately slandering Ethan. Her accusation only elicited a few cold words from Michael.
I can find him a father.
Sophia was stunned. What did it matter if Ethan was the father? Changing someone's personal information was easy for Michael, as was forging a paternity test report. If Michael wanted Ethan to disappear, it would only take a snap of his fingers. Who the child's father was didn't matter at all.
Michael.
During this time, you should rest at home. I'll take care of everything else.
Michael turned his attention back to the screen, seriously browsing through documents as if the previous conversation had never happened. Sophia bit her lower lip so hard it almost bled. She blinked, stubbornly holding back her tears.
My child only has one father, Ethan.
Michael looked at her, a cold smile on his face.
You know I won't agree.
She couldn't remember if she said anything else afterward. She only remembered that when she returned to her bedroom, she took 2 sleeping pills and finally had a good night's sleep. She felt that Michael was pushing her to the brink of madness, forgetting that someone as proud as Michael had already made many concessions for her. Sophia found herself living under house arrest again. This time, Michael added more patrolling bodyguards, giving her no chance to escape. True to his word, he also hired a nutritionist to prepare her meals every day. If work wasn't busy, Michael would come back early, sometimes taking Sophia out for dinner, to the movies, or shopping. They had never been this close in all the years they had known each other. Unable to leave, Sophia told Ethan about her situation. Ethan said he had a plan. However, Sophia couldn't feel at ease. Instead, she became more anxious. Ethan's plan became clear the next day. On the weekend, Michael didn't have to work. He took Sophia to the family home to bring back their Samoyed, Big White. The dog had been staying with the family while Michael was busy in the US, but now that he was back, he brought Big White home. Sophia was playing with Big White in the living room when someone knocked on the door.
Knock, knock.
Aunt May opened the door, and Sophia looked up to see Ethan standing outside.
Ethan, why are you here?
Sophia stood up, her eyes involuntarily glancing at Michael, who was sitting on the other end of the sofa, reading financial reports. Michael didn't react much, just placed the document on the table. Ethan walked over to Sophia, a bright smile on his face.
I'm here to take you away.
He took Sophia's hand, and unlike Michael's, Ethan's hand was much warmer.
Take me away?
Sophia didn't finish her sentence, glancing at Michael. Ethan gave her a reassuring look. Ethan let go of Sophia's hand and walked over to Michael, not intending to sit down. He looked down at Michael and said,
Mr. Michael, Sophia is carrying my child. She is my fiancée, and I want to take her to my place.
Ethan's arrogance was evident, something Michael always despised. Sophia had a bad feeling. 10 seconds later, a calm Michael looked up at Ethan, a mocking smile on his face.
Do you think having a child makes her your fiancée?
The atmosphere instantly turned icy. Despite sitting down, Michael exuded more pressure than Ethan, who was standing. That innate superiority was deeply ingrained in him. Michael walked in, reeking of alcohol and unsteady on his feet. Sophia immediately reached out to support him as they walked to the living room.
I couldn't sleep.
Michael didn't say anything more, allowing Sophia to help him to the sofa. She then poured him a cup of cold tea. Michael held the porcelain cup in his hand, sniffing the tea's aroma without drinking it.
Does your ankle still hurt?
Putting down the untouched tea, Michael gestured for Sophia to sit beside him. Sophia hesitated and sat down at a distance of almost 2 meters from Michael, shaking her head lightly. Seeing the chasm between them, Michael frowned slightly but said nothing. He simply moved closer, sitting beside Sophia.
I have something to tell you.
After the dog released its grip on Sophia, both Ethan and Michael quickly stepped forward to check her injury. Ethan, still shaken, glanced at Sophia and then at the dog lying on the ground.
Why isn't it moving?
Sophia and Michael followed his line of sight. The dog didn't get up or move, which was unusual. Michael felt a pang of anxiety. Normally, the dog would come to his side. Now, its whimpering grew quieter and it gradually fell silent.
I shouldn't have kicked it so hard.
Michael walked over, trembling slightly. As he approached, he saw the tear streak at the corner of the dog's eye. He knelt down abruptly, pushing the dog gently.
Come on, get up.
But the only response was silence. The dog didn't stand up or wag its tail. Uncontrollably, Michael cradled its head in his arms. He saw the fatal wound; the kick had landed near its heart.
No. I'm so sorry.
Memories flooded his mind. His mother had brought the dog home because it had been a police dog. To Michael, it wasn't just a pet, it was a companion. Now, seeing it motionless, he was overwhelmed with guilt. Ethan grabbed Sophia's hand, pulling her attention away.
Come with me.
Sophia's gaze lingered on the sorrowful Michael. She tried to break free but was too weak. As Ethan pulled Sophia away, her mind was conflicted. She had grown attached to the dog. Now, because of her, the dog lay there, and she was leaving?
I can't just leave him.
Even as they reached the door, Sophia's eyes remained on Michael. She wondered if she should leave him to bear this alone. Ethan hurriedly pulled her along. Once outside, Ethan relaxed a bit.
What about the pretend pregnancy?
Walking ahead, his voice was carried away by the wind, and Sophia, distracted, didn't hear clearly.
What?
Even outside, Sophia's mind replayed the scene of Michael holding the dog. It worried her more. If he cried openly, it might be better, but holding it in was more concerning. Determined, she used all her strength to pull her hand away from Ethan and ran back.
Sophia, come back. What are you doing?
But she didn't respond, continuing to run back. At that moment, Sophia had only one thought: to be by Michael's side. Letting go of a man who wants to give you happiness and returning to face the unknown seems to require great courage. But in reality, it's just a turn, and it requires seeing your own heart clearly. Strangely enough, at any other moment, Sophia would never have wanted to let go of Ethan's hand, nor would she have dared to. But after turning around, she didn't consider how Ethan would react or their future together. As she ran back, her mind was filled with that moment. She had never thought that Michael would say he liked her.
How could he like me?
Sophia couldn't help but think back to when she had lived with Michael since she was 14. After all these years, they should have felt like family, but their relationship remained strained.
Whenever I failed an exam, he would get furious. Whenever I wanted something, he would throw a bank card at me to buy it.
Now that she was older, looking back, she felt differently. Sophia's lips curled into a slight smile. In many ways, he had been looking out for her, though his methods were unappealing.
What did I see in his eyes? Sincerity.
Sophia's mind was in turmoil. To her, she was just an orphan living under someone else's roof. She had never tried to please anyone, so she never took the initiative to mend relationships.
But Michael had always been someone distant, out of reach. Now, hearing him say he liked me, I'm bewildered. Stop thinking about it.
When she ran back, she stopped at the door, leaning against it and looking at where Ethan had been. But Ethan was gone, and Michael was sitting on the sofa.
Where's Ethan?
Michael glanced at her without responding. Sophia wanted to ask more but was pulled back by Aunt May at the door.
Miss, don't ask. Ethan is gone.
Tears streamed down Aunt May's face. She had worked there for so long, forming a bond with Ethan. She didn't want to dwell on what had happened, only hoping for the best for them.
It's my fault that Ethan is gone.
Unnoticed by Sophia, Michael glanced at her crying and frowned. He stood up and walked towards the door.
Come with me.
Huh?
Miss, Master called you. You should go. Don't make him sad anymore.
Sophia wiped her tears with her hand. Aunt May was right, she shouldn't go against him anymore.
Okay, Aunt May, I know. I'll go.
She ran out, seeing Michael sitting in the driver's seat, staring straight ahead. Unsure if he was waiting for her, Sophia carefully opened the car door and got in. As soon as she fastened her seatbelt, the car roared to life. They drove in silence, both stealing glances at each other when the other wasn't looking. Anyone watching would find their behavior odd. Michael, feeling suppressed, unconsciously sped up. He drove quickly to the hospital and stopped at the entrance. Michael got out first, not bothering to open Sophia's door as he usually did. Seeing this, Sophia felt conflicted but knew she was in the wrong. She obediently got out of the car. Michael strode ahead without looking back. To keep up, Sophia had to half run, half walk.
Really, walking so fast, not even waiting for me.
She didn't realize her tone had a hint of coquettishness. Hearing this, Michael suddenly stopped and turned to look at her.
I heard your conversation with him. You're not expecting. Sophia, break up with him and stay with me, okay?
Okay.